A reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 9. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, and as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. And for your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from man, from his fellow man, I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. And you, be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark. It is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. Noah began to till the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So a few things jump out at me of this chapter 9 of Genesis. First of all, I'm not very pleased with the translation of this English Standard Version of, I don't know. I mean, it says bow instead of rainbow. Why couldn't they just say rainbow? I mean, maybe I'm being picky, but I mean, when I hear bow in the sky, I don't think rainbow. And that's exactly what they're referring to. They're referring to the rainbow. The rainbow is a sign of the covenant that God has established with mankind, with Noah and his family and the rest of humanity for future generations. And the rainbow is something that has been hijacked by the LGBTQ community to some that represent something abomination, which is sodomy and lesbianism and homosexuality and transgenderism and all kind of other things that are far from what the rainbow really represents. And I think we, as Christians and as Catholics especially, should retake the rainbow and make it what it really represents. Is the covenant that God is not going to destroy humanity through floods ever again. It's God's pact with us humans that He has mercy on us. Whenever we see a rainbow, we should be reminded of God's great mercy toward us, and that He's not going to wipe out humanity with a major flood. And so I'm not very pleased with the fact that they didn't write down rainbow instead of, and they're just calling it bow in the clouds. I don't know. Because the covenant says that the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. And so that before there wasn't rainbows, and after that covenant, there's been rainbows to this very day. Whenever it's somewhat misty or rainy and the sun is shining, you're going to see a rainbow. And that should bring us immediate thoughts of God's presence. And so we should be proud of the rainbow. But whenever I see a rainbow flag, I just get kind of disgusted by it, because I know that that's not what it really represents. And the other thing that comes to my mind about this chapter that jumps out at me is that God is not against capital punishment, like a lot of people like to believe, including the Pope we have now, Pope Francis. Like, he's been trying to, well, not trying to, but he's been declaring that, capital punishment needs to be stopped and shouldn't be done at all. I don't agree with him at all. There's definitely people that do deserve capital punishment, and it should definitely be handy. Obviously, you're not gonna do capital punishment for petty offenses, but there's people out there who are sick pedophiles and cannibals, literally, and mad scientists and people looking to do crimes against humanity with viruses and stuff that do deserve capital punishment for trying to play God and wipe out the population to reduce it to a certain size. So definitely, right here in verse 6 of chapter 9, it says, "Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image." So that's basically God telling us, even before the Ten Commandments were given to Moses, "Thou shalt not kill," which is the fifth commandment. And so if you kill someone, you're basically, that person who killed should have his blood shed by another man. Now, I do notice a little bit of contradiction, and maybe I'm just not understanding it well. But we heard in earlier chapters how Cain killed his brother Abel, and God said, he would avenge anybody who would kill Cain 7 times, and then there was somebody else that if somebody killed him, he'd be avenged 77 times. So I'm not too sure about that, but the point is, killing is a very, very serious sin, and the blood of the victim screams out to heaven for justice. And all I could think about, among many things, is abortion. Like, all these children being murdered in their mother's wombs, torn apart inside their mothers, even though it's quote unquote legal, it's still a very, very disrespectful sin that hurts the heart of God to see happen over and over again. And the mothers are guilty of that. Maybe they're being coerced or pressured to have abortions, but ultimately it's their decision too, and then they have to repent for that. Obviously, if there's husband or boyfriends or some rapist was the one that behind the uh, the fact that they got pregnant. They're probably also guilty of trying to get the 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 girl to abort. But that's murder too, and so that needed to stop. And just recently, thanks be to God, the United States Supreme Court overruled Roe versus Wade, which was a big old hoax to begin with. Roe came out and basically said that she got paid to lie when that all went down in the 70s or whatever year it was. And so a lot of people were getting paid to let that happen, but that's because obviously Satan and and the other evil spirits like Moloch and Baal, they're behind a lot of politicians in power, and they wanted sacrifices, human sacrifices done to them. That's the only reason why abortion was being um, legalized. It's nothing to do with women's reproductive rights, how they twist the words to make it sound like it's something good, but it's had nothing to do with women's health or reproductive rights. It's all just sacrifices to devils and demons and Satan and his armies. That's all it is, for power, worldly power, and what other kind of powers that are very short-sighted in the plans of God. And so I'm just praise God in Jesus' name that that was overturned, and hopefully the states will follow suit and start um, making abortion illegal in every state. I know that's a far cry. It's a long shot since I live in California, one of the most liberal states in the United States. And you could think of New York as well, but California is way off the left-hand side of the political realm um, as far as liberalism. And so, I don't know, some way, somehow, God has got to try to redirect Californians to fearing Him and having faith in Him and knowing that He's the only, only God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There is no other God. There is no other God. Everybody else is a fake God. Everybody else. Even if it's somebody you worship that is not Jesus and is not God, then you're worshiping a false God. And so that those are two couple of things that jump out at me from this chapter. But not only that, there's a third thing. There's the fact that God had just done His covenant with Noah, and Noah and his began to till the soil after he got out of the ark, and all the animals got out and all the families got out and started building their houses and stuff and making life all over again. To life goes on and remultiply on the earth. He began to till the soil. He planted a vineyard. You read that in verse 20 of chapter 9. And he drank of that wine. That's the first thing Noah did. Like, he's like, I'm out of the ark. What does he do? He plants a vineyard. He's like, I'm going to get smashed. I'm going to drink some wine. And a whole lot of wine, because he ended up naked. He must have lost all judgment and became naked. And right away we see how Ham is kind of a idiot, for lack of a better word, for seeing his dad's nakedness. Now that's you just don't do that. I don't know how old Ham was, but that's not something you do. It's nothing to laugh about. That's embarrassing. It's shameful. I mean, Noah was wrong for that to begin with. I mean, you don't let yourself get so drunk that you end up getting naked and then just like passed out on the floor where your family could find you. Like, wow. Well, anyway, Ham saw it, and uh, and he told his two other brothers. Now, his two other brothers, Shem and Japheth, what did they do? They grabbed a big garment and they put him on. They put it on their shoulders, and they started walking backwards toward their dad, who was passed out on the floor naked. And when they reached their dad on the floor, they knew how to cover his nakedness with that big piece of garment that they had in order to, restore his dignity. Um, and so they never looked at their dad's nakedness. And that's one thing I find very like appalling. Like I've never seen my dad's nakedness in my life ever, ever. Yeah, he's walked around in his tidy whitey briefs occasionally when he has to like when he's already asleep, but then he has to come out to grab something like medicine or use the restroom. Yeah, but never his nakedness completely. Never. Or my mom's. Never seen her naked. And yet I know there's people out there who have seen their moms naked and their dads naked and probably don't think anything wrong of it. But personally, I think that is wrong. I mean, when you're a child, little baby, maybe, but no, 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 no. I don't know. I just don't. I just call me old fashioned, but you don't see your parents' nakedness. Mm. And neither should a parent find it like completely natural and nothing wrong with being naked in front of their children. No, yeah, you should have some respect for yourself. Keep your clothes on and don't let your children see you naked. Period. Especially if you're sober too. I mean, it's like, if you're drunk, I get it. You're out of your wits, out of your mind. But even then, it's like that's wrong. And Noah knew it was wrong. So when he awoke from his wine and he realized what his youngest son had done, because his Ham was his youngest son, he cursed him. Well, really, he cursed Ham's son, Canaan. I don't know what the meaning is behind that. Why he cursed Ham's son and not his own son? Maybe it has something to do with, like, if I was the father of Ham, I wouldn't want to curse none of my children, like my direct children. No, but I could probably go. You feel a little more open to cursing their children, even though they're the same, descendants of mine. But at least I'm not cursing my son, or my daughter directly. If their offspring get cursed, that's probably what Noah was thinking. I'm gonna curse his son and make his son Canaan servant of servants and to serve his other brothers Shem and Japheth. And wow, that and I'm sure curses are when a father curses you or your offspring. I think that really does hold some weight, some power. And me personally, I haven't gotten along with my dad 100%. I'm not gonna get into details, but when I was younger, I used to get in arguments with him. And sometimes I wonder if he has cursed me, but sometimes I also wonder whether if he had cursed me under his breath or whatever in his heart, whether or not he has asked God to remove that curse from me. I don't know. Um, Sometimes I believe I am living a cursed life. Mm, Not because of um, I'm feeling wretched in any way. I mean, yeah, I am a wretched soul, but I guess the fact that I'm not like really prospering economically and how I've lost a lot of jobs. I've had like maybe 20 jobs in my life already. That's way too many. So I can't help but look at, the streak of different jobs that I've been in and out of. And a lot of the ones that I've had recently have been out of my control. Like, it's not because I resigned or chose to quit or anything. It's just things happen. The last one I had was because I got injured. I slipped on my daughter's toy at home and I dislocated my kneecap, and I was working at a warehouse where we used to distribute wine, and my knee wasn't healing fast enough. And my boss was like, if you can't come back and be 100% on the warehouse team, then you should just look for another job because we want you 100% back. And so I realized I wasn't healing fast enough, so I just decided to find a easier job. And the job before that I lost because of COVID. COVID just really dropped the sales in the department. Well, it was a number of other factors, but especially COVID, it just knocked off all the warehouse team. Eventually, that whole company ended up selling itself about a year later, 2 years later. But I could go on and on about jobs that I've had, and I'm feeling cursed that I just haven't found the right job where I feel like I'm really living to my full potential, my God-given talents and skills. But right now I'm okay. Um, but I still feel like I could make more money and have a more respectable job than being a cashier at a big market chain. Anyway, God bless you all. Have a good night. I made sure I put in this chapter today before tomorrow came around.